My name is Adam Wilson. I'm a fourth generation farmer here at Wilson Farms. My first experience with a tornado was when I woke up the night I turned 10 years old. Since then, there's been 3 other occasions where we've had significant damage on our property, the biggest being in 2018 when the property that we are currently standing on was forever changed as what we knew to be near and dear to us. That particular day, I remember telling somebody it just didn't feel like there could be bad weather coming. But later that night, as events transpired, we realized that we did have a serious situation. And me and my wife, she was 9 months pregnant, her and I and the dog, we took shelter in the closet and got some mattresses around us and had the iPad and phone where we could keep the details rolling in. After we thought all was well, my phone started ringing. From there, it was Dad. My dad's kind of the older type. He's not a very emotional person, but I could tell in his voice that something was wrong. And he told me that I needed to get to the farm. On the farm, our old home place, we had a family that was leasing the home, renting the home from us. And he just told me, he said, they're trapped. And that's all the information I had. When it came to getting them out, when I was trying to get to the house, it took me about an hour and a half to get to them. And I remember the moment when I was walking and I'd stepped through a puddle, and I remember my foot kind of rolling over something, and it wasn't till about 5 steps later I kind of stopped and realized you just stepped on a phone line. Like, you know, it came to a realization, hey, there's power lines down. You know, that's something that because I wasn't mentally prepared, I hadn't even thought of that until that moment. And thankfully, that was not a critical mistake that I made. It wasn't until a couple hours later when we had secured that family and we came back to the scene, to the farm here, and it really began to take account as to the damages that had been done. Where I'm standing right here was a carport, and right here was a grove of pecan trees. There was 7 very mature pecan trees and a beautiful magnolia that stood over there next to the home place. The home place had been here, dated back to the late 1800s. Our family started acquiring this property that we're on in the 1940s. Fortunately, you know, the people that I needed in the moment came to us, but looking back, you know, there were some important contacts that, you know, we had to be able to communicate with. And our insurance agent, you know, he was here as early as anybody the next day. We had a brand new load of feed sitting in our commodity shed up here, and I had to think of who can help, you know, potentially save this feed and keep it from going bad. So I called that farmer, and he came and got us out of that bind. When it came to a fence down, I knew who I could trust to put a fence back up. And at the end of the day, you learn that ultimately community is what it's all about. After the storm, this area was declared a federal disaster area. So at that point, it became critical for us to keep track of, you know, the financial cost that was going into the actual cleanup on this site. When we got approved for the federal financial assistance, I had to show, you know, the timestamps. I had to show what equipment was on site. I had to show all the personnel. The only physical structure that's still surviving from after the tornado is this commodity shed that you'll see right here. And even then, the day the tornado came through, it had no roof and it had no side walls. So even at its bare minimum, that's all that's left. But considering the properties, the buildings that was here before the storm, you know, we kind of had the slate wiped clean, literally, and metaphorically, so to speak. So we had a lot of options, and with that, one thing we took into consideration is, you know, structure to, you know, protect our equipment. And so we deemed it necessary to build this equipment shed here that we see below us. We built back a shop that's well insulated in the winter time. We can get in there and cut on the heater and stay nice and warm. And that's an opportunity that we didn't have before the tornado. So, you know, when I thought of Wilson Farms and what it meant to me, you know, it wiped away, you know, a lot of things now that are just memories, you know, but with that, it gave us a chance to, you know, seize the moment. My advice for other farmers is to at least annually look over your policies, look over your insurance plans, know what your coverage is, because there was a lot of things that, you know, in the end it cost us heavily to recoup the losses that we experienced. And had we had known some of the things at the time, it might not have been as detrimental. It might not have taken us as long to have recovered those losses if we had known some of the steps that we had needed to have taken in the meantime. Don't take for granted time that it may take you to sit down and actually go through, you know, what do you need for your operation to run, to function? And what are you going to do if those things are taken away from you? There's one thing that I learned, that aside from everything here and the way we have rebuilt since 2018, my family, my friends, they're first.